10 out of 10 RPG videos have been making the rounds, so I thought let's make one and put an epic twist on it. Hello you gorgeous human being, it's Miss Bubbles. Today it's an honor to share this bubbly stage with 24, yes you heard that right, 24 of your favorite content creators. Grab a snack, sit back and relax because we're taking you on a beautiful journey. Before we get started though, it's my birthday, so all I ask is squish the like button so we can smack the algorithm in the face, and don't forget to share your 10 out of 10 RPG down in the comment section. Let's take a trip down memory lane with the fantastic David Vink, Slonko, Hallowed Be Thy Gaming, Tony Polanco, and LastKnownMeal.
Hi everybody, this is David over at the channel David Vink, and happy birthday, Miss Bubbles. My 1010 RPG, my favorite game, the game that I would say is like perfect in every single way that I want to talk about is Dragon Quest V. I first played this when it was translated on the SNES because it wasn't released here in America, but man, what a game. It's actually the favorite of the Dragon Quest creator, Yuji Horii, and it tells a story spanning about 30 or so years, really, of a boy who is looking for his mother, and he starts off as like a little 6-year-old boy. Then the shit kind of hits the fan as he's sold into slavery, he loses his family, 10 years go by, and he eventually meets up with his childhood friend and some others, and he has a choice of marriage. And he moves on through married life, gets the girl pregnant, knocks her up, and then a couple more years go by, cause, you know, tragedy goes by. And he has kids, and they go out and they find him, and then eventually he's able to go into the underworld, find his long-lost mother, and just save the world, find that legendary hero. And this is just one of the best storytellings, not only in the Dragon Quest series, but just in RPGs as a whole. It will really just hit you at your core, and it's just fantastic. I love the turn-based battle system. I also love that they introduced monster capturing in this entry as well. It's just everything so well done.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Slonko, and Miss Bubbles asked me what is my favorite RPG. I am here to show all the love to Seiken Densetsu 2, aka Secret of Mana. Secret of Mana is such an iconic game as it has paved the way to modern action JRPGs. I personally was very obsessed with Squaresoft, and back in the day in 1994, I went to Toys R Us, picked up a slip, and it might have been one of the best game choices I ever made. Aside from loving the promotion for the game, such as the cool TV commercial, the awesome clay figurines that I saw featured in Nintendo Power, this game really left a very deep emotional impression on me. The story and the characters, both as individuals and as a group, really touch me a lot. I love a story that can highlight 3 different characters from 3 different walks of life coming together. I really appreciated the combat system in the game. You could charge up your attack before attacking. And they also had a cool system for the AI, whether you wanted them to be a little bit more passive or you wanted them to be more aggressive in their attacks. My favorite part of the game was getting to the Winterlands, to the Ice Palace. That area still to this day gives me goosebumps and chills. The music there is so beautiful. Meeting Flammy, like that was a game changer. Getting to the Mana Tree and seeing the connection between the tree and Randy always brought tears to my eyes. The nostalgia and the memories of Secret of Mana hit me so often that I do love to revisit the game when I have a chance, and I really can never ever forget the joy that Secret of Mana has given me. Thank you so much, Bubbles, for having me on the channel. Squish! And I'll see you guys next time. Take care.
Hello everyone, Ren from Hallowed Be Thy Game, and I am so excited to share with you a game that I consider to be a 10 out of 10 masterpiece Chrono Trigger. Few games in my life have ever left such a distinct impact on me as a gamer, but the dream team of so many iconic figures coming together to combine the god-tier character designs and art of Akira Toriyama, the turn-based prowess of Hironobu Sakaguchi, and the musical score of Yasunori Mitsuda and Nobuo Uematsu. However, many of these things are well documented, but the fact remains that I am by far and away a person who is heavily influenced by unquantifiable traits in a game, as I am heavily inspired by how a game evokes emotion in me. Chrono Trigger came at the perfect time in my life. The summer nights I spent playing this game, first on the PlayStation, insane, I know, and then replaying it many more times when it came to the DS, are imprinted on my soul as some of the purest nostalgia I have ever experienced. The memories I made while being whisked away by this timeless story on those summer nights will forever stay with me. I was enthralled by absolutely one of the greatest JRPGs ever made. I want to thank you so much, Miss Bubbles, for the chance to come on and share my story. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you next time.
Yo, what is going on, people? All right, let's talk about our favorite JRPGs and my favorite JRPG. And I'm picking this one because it's the one that really got me into the genre. That would be Skies of Arcadia. I think some of you guys may be a little too young for that game, so I'm bringing the old school stuff, right? So anyway, Skies of Arcadia, played on Dreamcast, dope game. What I really loved about it was the sense of exploration, right? You're basically from this kind of, typical JRPG thing. You're from this little part of the world, and you start exploring the wider world, right? Like, that's pretty typical stuff. But what was cool about this game is you were a freaking sky pirate. Like, you run around in it looks like a regular boat, right? Like a regular ship, but you're floating around in the sky and stuff, hence Skies of Arcadia. And you just went around looking around, you went around and you checked out all these cool places. And what was fun about it is most of them were analogs to real world places. Like, I remember, it's just so fun. Like, they go to this one land that's pretty much like an analog to Japan, right? And they were like, why are the houses made out of paper? Little things like that. It was so much fun. And like I said, it just instilled this really cool sense of adventure. Like, what's over the horizon? Or in this case, what's above the clouds? What's under the clouds? Like, in this world, they even have the concept of like, hey, did you know boats, they used to float on water? Like, things like that. It's so cool. And, the characters are fun. The combat was really dope. And all these years later, I still think fondly about it. And I'm still like a little mad that we haven't gotten a proper re-release of this game because it's so good. Like, we get so many remakes now. I'm like, why Sega? What do you do? Sega in general should, remake a bunch of their stuff. But it's like, Sega, what are you doing? Skies of Arcadia, let's bring it back, So that game will always be my perfect 10 out of 10 JRPG. And yeah, man, Skies of Arcadia. I don't know how, but if you can, play it. You'll thank me for it. Later.
So my favorite RPG of all time would be Gothic 1 from Piranha Bytes, which came out in 2001. Back in the day, it was one of the first action RPGs I played on my PC, and also it was one of the only games I had on my PC in general, so I was kinda stuck with it. But it was amazing because Gothic, even though it was somewhat of a low-budget underground RPG, the dedication and passion which was put into it was absolutely insane. The characters, the lore, the setting, the entire gameplay formula, and also all of the RPG mechanics in the game, including a fully functioning faction system which you just have to experience, is something that's stayed even to this day. And one of the good things is that even though 20-something years have passed, Gothic still maintained somewhat of that freshness that even though when you play it today, it is not going to feel too outdated. One of the problems though are maybe controls, which are definitely outdated for, today's standards, but the game itself, the story, the characters you interact with, and how you roleplay in that game is amazing, and that's why even to this day there really hasn't been a game which went over it, and Gothic was serving as an inspiration for many RPGs which came in the future that you have known and played. And also thank you Miss Bubbles for inviting me to this video, and if you haven't played Gothic before, I really recommend you do.
There's something so beautiful about seeing somebody gush about their favorite RPG. So let's see what a 10 out of 10 modern RPG would look like with Mark from Switch Up, Chocolate Kieran, King Narukami, Alex from Backlog Battle, Jonny, and yours truly.
A big thanks to Miss Bubbles for having me on. It's Mark from Switch Up. Hopefully some of you have seen the channel, and if you haven't, come check it out. Now, 10 out of 10 RPGs, just the name 10 out of 10 for me, it has to be a subjective thing rather than this game's perfect, because as we know, nothing is perfect really. But my favourite RPG, probably of all time actually, is a modern one known as Disco Elysium. It was recommended to me by a friend of mine, Alex, over at Switch Corner, and I can't believe how good it is. Why exactly is it so good? Well, it takes a protagonist who is a complete anti-hero. It makes you choose all of his character personality traits, and then the whole thing is narrated. It's actually a jazz musician from London. They went into I think it was like a jazz club, heard his voice and were like, yeah, we need you in the game. But it's narrated by him, both the main narration and also your internal monologue. So it's constantly giving you ideas and suggestions, but at certain times it steers you down the wrong path, and you'll have to pass what are basically dice roll checks to get through certain conversational pieces. But if you fail, then there's usually some humiliating result for Harry Dubois, the main character. It has one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard in a game, and yeah, probably a bit of an off-the-wall 10 out of 10 pick, and it certainly didn't score 10 out of 10 on our channel, but from a purely personal preference choice, this is right up there for me with the best of all time.
What's up, I'm Kieran and I go by Chocolate Kieran on socials, and I am obsessed with Nintendo and JRPGs, and I'm here to tell you what my 10 out of 10 RPG choice is, and it's Xenoblade Chronicles 3. The music alone is just so perfect. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the Game Awards, but there was this guy called Flute Guy who was playing a track called Carrying the Weight of Life. If you heard that and you thought he was epic and popping off, you gotta hear the rest of the soundtrack, 'cause I promise you, it just makes me so emotional listening to it. It's so good. Speaking of emotion, the story, there's one chapter in the game that ruined my entire sleeping pattern because I had to go and finish at least an extra chapter of the game because it was just that good. It hooks you, it grabs you, it's awesome. And the team who work on Xenoblade are obsessed with philosophy. They put it in all of their games, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is the culmination of 1 and 2. So the beautiful message that you get from the game is just so striking, you know? Like, you gotta go and see it for yourself. You don't need to play 1 and 2 to enjoy 3, but if you play 3, it's gonna make you want to play the rest of the games because it's just that good. I also want to say the characters are incredible. Like, their relationships, the growth you see them go through throughout the whole story is just great. Like, it makes you feel like you're a part of the group, and once you finish the game, you're absolutely going to miss them and want to experience more journeys with them. It's one of those games that will leave a void in your heart once you're done with it. I also want to talk about how beautiful the visuals are too. So Monolith Soft, the company that worked on it, also worked on Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. If you know how beautiful those games are for Switch games, you'll be surprised when you see Xenoblade, because somehow it stacks up even more as a beautiful game on the Switch. And even outside of that, I just feel like it's generally a beautiful game. Maybe one of the most beautiful games I played last year. If that's not saying something, it did beat Elden Ring for me personally as my game of the year. Combat may look a little bit messy, and I understand that in some aspects, but if you play the game for yourself, the way it slowly introduces each element to you allows you to customize every character as different classes. I'm sure you'll all be able to enjoy combat in the game because you're able to customize it in different ways. You can play as any individual character as well, switch between each character. So yeah, whatever class you enjoy playing in typical RPGs, I'm sure you'll find one that matches up to that, and you'll be able to play the game in a way that you want to.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's King Narukami 45 here. Thank you, Miss Bubbles, for allowing me to be a part of this video right here. And I would have to say the 10 out of 10 RPG for me would be Yakuza Like a Dragon, and there's so many ways in which I absolutely fell in love with this title. It is the 8th mainline entry into the Yakuza series. However, RGG Studios, the developer for these games, took a different approach to Like a Dragon and made it a turn-based JRPG. And being the first turn-based JRPG by RGG Studios, I was a little skeptical at first, but I'm going to tell you this, Yakuza Like a Dragon completely blew me away. From the lovable characters to the awesome fast-paced combat. I mean, you're just not stuck in just one position. You're moving all throughout the battle arena and everything. It's so awesome. The enemies in this game are wacky. All the special moves that you can do in the game are just insane, out of this world, a lot of fun. And the story, oh man, the story is just so good, top-notch, peak Yakuza. And the best part about it, you don't need any prior experience with the Yakuza series to enjoy this game. I highly recommend it. Yakuza Like a Dragon, King Narukami's pick for a 10 out of 10 RPG.
What's up everyone, Alex here, and I'm here to talk about Octopath Traveler 2. Now, I know this sounds like I am having recency bias here by picking this as one of my 10 out of 10 games, but when I really think about the entire history of JRPGs from Square Enix standpoint, this is a logical progression of what they've been building towards ever since the Super Nintendo era. Because this type of storytelling, this anthology-style gameplay where you pick one protagonist and then pick everybody up, has been going on since the Saga series. However, I don't think Square Enix, with their persistent tries, have nailed that formula until Octopath Traveler 2. And here's the secret to its success. They didn't actually focus too much on fixing what was wrong in the first game when it comes to its narrative. They just made the narrative and the characters way better. Sure, there are still moments where the party doesn't really interact with one another as much as we want, with the entire party completely disappearing when you start a new chapter, but what we got is an engaging adventure that actually married a lot of the experiences that the entire team had once you get to the post-game. And that is quite the rarity when it comes to this style of gameplay. But also, that's not to say that they didn't improve everything else as well. You've got snappier combat, beautiful environments with a lot of depth, and a soundtrack that is one of my favorites this year. And you've got a game that is deserving of a 10 out of 10.
When it comes to modern RPGs, the first game that I think of in terms of being my favorite would be Persona 5, which is a JRPG, and it's so sophisticated in the way it does stylistic presentation of the menus and what you're actually seeing in the gameplay itself, and how it all interplays together to give you this unique looking and feeling experience. And all that tied in with the really sophisticated social systems where you talk to different characters, which will both give you social benefits in terms of becoming better friends or closer with them, but also will give you gameplay effects in terms of different things you can unlock via those characters. And the way that's all presented with the music is just something out of this world. I can only compare it to other games like Nier Automata or Final Fantasy VII, where the music really brings the presentation to a whole new level. I can't tell you the amount of times I listen to the Persona 5 soundtrack just so often, because it's so evocative of those times. The camaraderie between people mucking about with the gang is just all about that friendship, companionship, and the time spent together going through the dungeons and the troubles and all of that. It just brings me back to that happy place that is Persona 5. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. I've been Jonny. You can find me at Jonny Plays Live on Twitch and YouTube. We'll see you around. Take care.
I think you're gonna be surprised because you probably thought I'm gonna have Witcher 3 in here, but guess again. I'm actually choosing Red Dead Redemption 2, and I'm taking this opportunity to talk about it for the first time on the channel. What a majestic and beautifully made game that serves as a prequel to Red Dead Redemption. I mean, if over 175 Game of the Year awards don't explain it, let me explain it for you. This is a perfect, emotion-filled story that will take you on the epic tale of Arthur Morgan on the run across America with the Vanderlyn gang. The level of immersion here left me speechless from the world itself, random quest givers you come across, beautiful story, and fun gameplay mechanics. The sheer amount of fun and engaging content made my experience with Red Dead 2 one that I would look forward to playing daily. Plus the music, oh my god, it's fantastic, and it really sets the tone and helps with the emotional roller coaster of feelings that you'll go through, and the graphics, really, this game just looks out of this world. This is a masterpiece that you have to play to understand why I gave it 10 out of 10. Now, as I was just sliding my way to my content creators friends DMs, I knew we're gonna have lots of Final Fantasy fans here. So I thought, you know what, why not compile them together and see what John Cartwright, Taylor Rooney from Gaming Shelf, and Sion as well as Joesephyr have to say about them.
Hello, I'm John Cartwright. You might know me from Good Vibes Gaming or previously Nintendo Life, and RPGs have always been a huge part of my life. Picking just one has been a mountain to climb. However, I've gone with the one that made me kind of love the genre in the first place, and that is the original Final Fantasy VII. Now, mechanically, this does have many tropes of the genre. You know, you've got turn-based combat, you go on an overworld, you go to towns, but it kind of recontextualizes everything. Instead of like a fairy tale fantasy world, we've got this sort of mechanical world run by corporate overlords. It is a much more dire look at the world, but it still manages to find charm within that. You'll still find chocobos and ride them around. You'll still find time to go to a theme park and do all these mini games. But what really ties everything together is the core cast. This is still, to this day, one of my favorite RPG casts of all time. Barrett, Tifa, Aerith, all of them. They are so lovable. And even though it does still have pretty much what made the first Final Fantasy great, the same sort of combat systems and everything, it worked. It worked then, it works now. Sometimes all you want is just, you know, to sit back and do turn-based battles, and Final Fantasy VII is a master at that. And it just keeps getting higher and higher in stakes. There's all this optional content with the weapons, and Final Fantasy VII to this day, I think, is one of the best games of all time. If you've not played the original before, please, it's 3 discs of magic. Go ahead and do it.
What's up, bubbly friends? This is Taylor from the Gaming Shelf, and thanks so much, Miss Bubbles, for having me on to talk about a 10 out of 10 masterpiece game. If I could only pick one to talk about, it would probably be Final Fantasy Tactics. I just have such a soft spot for this game because of how incredible it is and the fact that it just doesn't get the attention it deserves. Now, to me, its crowning achievement and what makes this game so special is the gameplay. Basically, all aspects work together beautifully. Everything from the level design, the mechanics, the job system, and the character customization. To me, this is the best implementation of the Final Fantasy job system in any game. Basically, no 2 playthroughs are alike because you can mix and match abilities for some really cool combinations. Or you could just, take the name characters and wreck everyone. Really, there are no parts that I hate or don't want to replay. Even Wheagraph or Ryovane's Castle, now it's just a challenge and I need to think creatively on how to overcome it. And aside from the gameplay, it just has it all. It has a great art style, both in-game with the character portraits and those awesome new cutscenes with voice acting. It also has an incredible soundtrack full of so many amazing tracks, a compelling story, and a huge roster of cool characters. And let's be real, I don't think there's a single game more deserving of a remaster to modern platforms. And I don't mean mobile, I do mean modern consoles and PC. And this game has been in the Nvidia leak, so it wouldn't shock me at all if it was announced and released by the end of the year. Oh, and also, happy birthday, Bubbles. I hope you have an awesome one.
Hey there, my name's Xion. I'm a video producer for the gaming website Nintendo Life. So when I was a kid, I was given a Super Nintendo. I must have been 6 or 7 years old. I was given this by my family as like a hand-me-down. And in that bundle of games was this. It was Final Fantasy II, or more commonly known nowadays as Final Fantasy IV. This was the first RPG that I ever played. This was a great starter RPG because it showed me all of the reasons why video games were so cool, why video games were going to become the medium someday. Not only did this have like a cool knight that you got to play as that had this internal conflict about being sort of evil. As I played this game over the years, had a real effect on me and sort of taught me why video games could be more than just this fun little thing that people just use as a mild distraction here or there. Not only was it the first game to ever make me shed real tears, the cast of characters are so heartwarming. Some of them are weird and you won't want to spend time with, but some of them are really cool. And as a kid, I wanted to put myself in their shoes. And I think even still today, not every Final Fantasy holds up, but Final Fantasy 2/4 is still worth your time. And it may be more accessible than ever, considering the fact that they ported and remade it on every system ever made, basically. Go play Final Fantasy 4.
Hi there everyone, my name's Joe, also known as Joesephyr. I'm a Final Fantasy streamer and content creator in general, and my 10 out of 10 RPG, the one I could never live without and the one that's endured with me all through my life, is Final Fantasy IX. Now, the reason for that is Final Fantasy IX's plot, its characters, its gameplay, its setting, everything is vibrant, detailed, and we're talking about a game back all the way back on the PlayStation 1, and it's endured up until this point on all of those factors and more. As a matter of fact, it's Sakaguchi's favourite Final Fantasy as well, and he created the franchise, so he knows what he's talking about. But for me, the characters are what sell it to me. So Vivi, the adorable little black mage who just has such an intricate story, as well as the villain Kuja is one of my favourite villains in all of gaming. And then just to go through so many different locales and just with a sense of wonderment is what keeps this game fresh for me and will do for probably the rest of my life.
Now, if you are a Mario fan, then Zap Crystal and Josh from Josh's Gaming Garden have got you covered.
Hey guys, it's your girl Zap Crystal, and I want to give a special thanks to Miss Bubbles for inviting me and being a part of this video where I get to talk to you guys about my favorite RPG of all time. And for me, it has to be Super Mario RPG. Super Mario RPG is the first Mario franchise game that draws elements from Square's RPGs such as Final Fantasy. It is a turn-based combat where you can team up to 3 characters in an action command battle. That's what I love about this game, as for an SNES game, it did a really good job of incorporating your favorite Nintendo characters into a world of RPG. And all the different options and accessibility that you have to really dope skills and abilities in the combat makes it shine as a true RPG. It's pretty simple and easy to navigate, and you will not get lost at all. Plus, the characters that it offers has such a unique personality, a great sense of humor, and you will quickly just feel this bond towards these characters and feel attached to them as you progress and learn not only about the main story, but about their background story as well. The items, the grinding, the leveling up, and the options you have to different, suits to level up for Mario, as well as, just weapons that you can use, items in the combat, learning how to read into their weaknesses, but strength of each boss, but also experience this in a isometric 3D environment, which I feel like it's just the perfect art direction they could have gone with. And it kind of reminds me in a way of Donkey Kong Country, but a Super Mario RPG. The whole premise of this game is gathering all the stars and being able to save this world from chaos, basically as any classic RPG. But I feel like you're gonna have an amazing time, and if you haven't played Super Mario RPG, I highly recommend you checking it out.
Hey, I'm Josh, and on my YouTube channel, I usually talk about farming games, but I also love RPGs, and my 10 out of 10 RPG is Paper Mario, and I'm talking about the first one on the Nintendo 64. This was the first RPG that I played, so I might be a bit biased, but I love everything about this game. First, thanks to its unique art style that combines colorful 3D environments and 2D paper-style characters, it still holds up graphically today. Also, the music is amazing, the story and the different characters you meet are fun, but more than anything else, I love how it puts a twist on the traditional turn-based combat, and instead of just selecting different actions and watching what happens, For each action, there's like a little minigame where you have to hold or press a button with the right timing, which makes the experience a bit more interactive and exciting. I also really like the exploration portions of the game and the fact that each of your party members has a unique ability that can be used to solve puzzles and reach new areas. This game has everything you would expect from a good RPG, but it's packaged in an accessible, fun, and light-hearted way, which makes it a game that can be enjoyed either by beginners or experienced players. I could have also chosen the Thousand Year Door instead for this video. That might even be an 11 out of 10 RPG, let me know what you think. But for me personally, I played Paper Mario 64 more than any other game in the series, so for now, that's my favorite one.
If you love more difficult RPGs, then let's see the pics of Arielle, Lucia, and DavidCast JRPGs.
Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Arielle, aka Huggable Hipster on YouTube. I am a variety gamer and gaming journalist on YouTube. My 10 out of 10, my choice for me when it comes to my favorite RPG is Elden Ring. Elden Ring for me is that comfort game. It's that sweet spot of being able to craft, being able to have an open world experience that doesn't stifle you, and it's one of the most beautiful games I have ever played. The characters, the story, the way that you can just do almost anything you want in this universe, I feel like it's just so cool. The way it just has this really cool narrative story that you can choose to play if you want to, or you can explore if you want to. I feel like you can really do anything when it comes to Elden Ring. Even when it comes to the main storyline, you can take different paths in order to complete said main storyline. It's pretty awesome. When it comes down to it, there's just so many different builds that you can create, so many things that you can do in this game. You can be a magic dex build, you can be a pure strength build. For a game so huge, I'm so incredibly amazed at how many different types of areas that you can go into. You could be, in one instance, a area that looks like smog and decay, but in the next, you're in this star field of amazing beauty and purples and blues. For me, this is my cozy game. So whenever I sit down and play it, it's just me and the lands between, and all of my problems just melt away.
Hello everyone, I'm Lucia, professional violinist and video game composer, and today I'm here, thanks to Miss Bumble, to talk about one of my favorite RPGs ever, Bloodborne. From the first moment I was inside of the street of Yharnam, I already knew that this was extraordinary. Starting from the intricate level design, the very difficult gameplay, and being a violinist sometimes makes it difficult to like easy games or cozy games. Sometimes I do because I need it. I need to be 100% with my brain in the game, and if the game is not difficult, I cannot enjoy myself. I know, I think I have some problems. We will talk about this in another video probably, not on Miss Bubble's channel. But it's not just the difficulty itself of the game that I love, also the fact that the lore is something that you can interpret. It's something that you can create in your brain just by discovering objects that have some stories, or discovering some people inside of their houses. They just give you hints. From these hints you can actually create and understand the story, and this is absolutely fascinating. Being also a composer and a violinist, obviously I have to talk about the music. That is something so special. I cannot explain it unless I use an example. In the Ludwig music, the choir, it's actually singing what is going on in the brain of the boss that you are fighting against. This is something very fascinating. Obviously there is some horror parts of the music, so there will be some music that is less common to hear about boss fights in general. There is so much innovation, there is so much inside of the soundtrack. If you are into very complicated games or gothic stories, absolutely play it. Thank you again, Miss Bubbles. It was a pleasure. Bye.
Ten out of 10 RPGs, huh? I wonder. Nah, just kidding. That's really easy. My favorite JRPG, or just RPG of all time, 10 out of 10 RPG, Shin Megami Tensei 4 by Atlus. My name is DavidCast JRPGs. I do cover all Atlus stuff, so it's not a big surprise, but Shin Megami Tensei 4 specifically is absolutely amazing. Great story. Peak gameplay, if you ask me. Once you master it, once you understand the difficulty, it is expertly crafted. It's perfectly balanced, in my opinion. The game looks absolutely stunning on 3DS. It looks great. It pushed the hardware to its limit in my mind. The gameplay loop is super fun. There's multiple endings. The characters are amazing. They're all extremely memorable. There's the community behind SMT4 might not be the biggest community of all time, but fans of that game are extremely dedicated, and that's why it is my easy candidate for today's video here as my favorite 10 out of 10 RPG of all time.
I don't know about you, but I just did not have enough yet. So let's see what TKN, Orbalology, Tarks Gauntlet, and Mr. Pineapple, I mean Mr. Midas, have to share with us.
Hi guys, TKN here, and thank you to Miss Bubbles for letting me take part in this awesome video about masterpiece RPGs. Now, while the game I'm going to be sharing with you today isn't necessarily an RPG, what I do like to do on my channel is share games that I feel RPG fans can enjoy, especially those who put a high importance on story. And it is for that reason that I share with you one of the finest stories I have ever experienced in Opus Echo of Starsong. Opus is an indie title developed by Sigono Inc., and it is one of the finest pieces of literature I've ever experienced. How they managed to make me care and relate to these characters in such a short time, because Opus is only around about 10 hours long, is a testament to how amazing the writing actually is. And though Opus does differ from a traditional RPG gameplay-wise, it's more a visual novel hybrid than anything else, I always do look to share this amazing game with people. I feel it has everything that I personally look for in a story. It has brilliant pacing, excellent world building, strong characters, one of the best OSTs I've ever heard. I mean, this OST is something truly special. And then combine it all together and they've put it into one neat package which just blew me away when I played it last year. And the best part about it is that it's only going to cost you 15 quid to try out yourself. That is insane value. Sigono Inc. have created a narrative masterpiece here, and I implore you please to check it out yourself if you are interested. You will not be disappointed.
Hi, this is Emily from Orbalology, and the 10 out of 10 RPG that I wanted to highlight in Miss Bubbles' video is Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia. Now, before you ask why am I not talking about Fire Emblem Awakening, I think that is also a wonderful Fire Emblem game. However, I feel like Echoes does not get enough love it deserves. So why do I think Fire Emblem Echoes is a 10 out of 10 game? Honestly, I think it just has it all. It has a great turn-based strategy RPG combat system that I found very satisfying to play around with, as well as really cool map environments that you got to explore, both in dungeons as well as on the grid-based maps. It also has amazing characters that you really grow an attachment towards, especially Alm and Celica, as well as a really interesting and satisfying story. What I really enjoyed about Echoes is you got to switch back and forth between two different perspectives of armies that are fighting on the opposite side of the continent, and as they progress throughout the story, they eventually meet up and join their forces together in a very satisfying way. And it also has great music and graphics for the 3DS system, and it's such a shame that so many people have missed out on this gem, mostly because it was a late 3DS release.
When it comes to the best of the best, it's hard for me not to look to one of my favorite ongoing JRPG series, Falcom's The Legend of Heroes. A series of vast, interconnected games all sharing one universe and unfolding one massive, overarching story. In the current continuity, I'd have to say my favorite game in the series, and one of my favorite games ever, has to take place in almost the dead center, with the second part of the Crossbell duology, Trails to Azure. Trails to Azure continues the adventures of the Special Support Section and its bright-eyed, hopeful detective boy, Lloyd Bannings. Together with the other members of the Special Support Section, they investigate the various and mysterious happenings in and around Crossbell, finding how deep and disturbing the tunnels of seemingly mundane events actually go, until it all reaches a head in one of the genre's craziest, most mind-boggling endings. The focus of the Legend of Heroes series has always been its deep lore, characters, story, and world building. However, the combat is no slouch either, allowing players to customize their character abilities through the orbment system system in an almost limitless fashion. Astute players can break and abuse this system for some glorious power tripping, and more reserved players can allow the builds to take their natural course and experience some nail-biting, difficult, and intense boss battles. That is, if you haven't set it to the easiest of difficulties. In saying all this though, it needs to be addressed that Trails to Azure does not necessarily stand on its own, and if it sees further than others have, it is because it stood on the shoulders of giants. Those giants being the other games in the series that came before it, which set all of this game up for being possible. While you can technically start here, it does not come at a high recommendation to do so. In fact, I'd say I'd recommend almost the opposite. Start at its predecessor, Trails from Zero, at the very least. It is a commitment for sure, but the best things don't always come with the easiest of accessibility. And not to Trojan horse an entire series in here while I'm only supposed to be talking about one game, but the other games that precede Azure are all pretty rad too, so maybe check them out. And when you get through that 300+ hour investment, go check out the other games in this video too. Anyway, thanks for having me on, Miss Bubbles. It's always a pleasure to talk about Kiseki and spread the Falcom love.
What's good, people? I go by the name of Mr. Midas. Now, I am a huge RPG fan, and a big thank you to the Queen of Pineapples herself, Miss Bubbles, for this collaboration. Now, I'm a bit of a rule breaker, so I'm going to twist the rules a little bit. For my pick is The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Yes, I know this isn't a traditional RPG, but it's inspired some of the greatest action RPGs that ever were made, just like The Witcher. And Nintendo actually classify it as an action RPG. Ocarina of Time is a masterpiece in gaming. From Nintendo's first proper analog controller, their first take into a 3D Zelda, and the incredible Hyrule we got. From start to finish, except the water temple, this game is magnificent. The music, the combat, the characters, some of my favorite dungeons, and Ganondorf is a bad man in this game. And that moment when Link pulled out the Master Sword and went from young Link to adult Link, amazing. I wouldn't be the gamer I am today without The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. So that is my pick.
TKN made me laugh my butt off with the way that he said my name. Thank you for that, I needed this today. Anyway, let's move forward and let's see what Isha Gaming and myself have to share as 10 out of 10 RPGs.
A 10 out of 10 RPG to me. Immediately I thought of Skyrim, and I saw the list of the games that were already taken, and I thought to myself, why isn't Skyrim taken? And why isn't Xenoblade Chronicles 1 taken? And then you said I can do them both. So let's start off with Skyrim. I feel like I have talked about Skyrim like 100 times, but it is a game I just wanna have people at least try it. It is an older game, it's like ancient right now, but it is still talked about for a good reason, and it is just unmatched with the level of polish, with the amount of content, with the sense of freedom. It is just still unmatched. It is still the best game that I have ever played. And it is out on the Switch, and I remember the first time that I played it on the Switch. I had already played it on the PC and, you know, PlayStation and stuff, and Xbox, basically everywhere. But having it handheld in my hands for the first time, that was a magical moment in my gaming life. You gotta try Skyrim, because it is RPG heaven, and a lot of people are agreeing with me on this one. Now the second game is Xenoblade Chronicles 1. I played that back in the day on the Wii, and it is a very big RPG game with a complex storyline, tons of customization. You get to know the characters in a way that makes you feel like you actually care about them. It is just so satisfying with all of the side quests. It's a satisfying game, guys. And the music is out of this world. And it is out on the Switch, Definitive Edition, so worth it. Out of the 3 Xenoblade games that are out, 1, 2, and 3, my favorite is still number 1. They just nailed it in this game. So if you haven't checked out Xenoblade Chronicles 1 yet, highly recommend that you do. I think that is a 10 out of 10 RPG game. Thanks again for inviting me, Miss Bubbles.
I mean, would this even be a Miss Bubbles video if The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt did not make the cut? I really don't think so. I already have 3 tattoos of the game, so if that doesn't show you how much I adore this game, I don't know what will. Witcher 3 changed my life. It brought me back into gaming. I literally went and bought a PlayStation 4 and a 50-inch TV just to play it. The story, the gameplay, the lore, the world, the side quests, the pen. Oh my god, you care about a freaking pen! Ciri, Yennefer, and I can go on and on. This game took over my life and I never looked back and I never will. I don't know how to explain how wonderful this journey is. This is not your typical go from point A to B story. This is a be ready to impact the in-game world with your decisions and be depressed after the game ends kind of story, because you're gonna feel so lonely and empty after the game finishes, but that's where the DLCs will come to play. This is the game that ruined gaming for me in the best way possible. I have a standard of how an RPG should be, and I'm forever grateful that I got to experience this with The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Do me a massive favor and squish the like button if you enjoyed this video. This was a beautiful labor of love for RPGs. Don't forget to give my bubbly friends some love. Their Twitter handles, channels, or wherever you can find them are found in the pinned comment. Stay bubbly, stay positive, and I'll see your gorgeous self in the next one. Bye!